Somali refugees are facing hunger and disease. Escaping the civil war in their homeland, they've been pouring into neighbouring Kenya since the demise of President Siad Barre a year ago. Recently, even more have been driven across the border by renewed fighting in the Somali capital Mogadishu. Tens of thousands are now stranded at Liboi, a desert town in northern Kenya, which will become inaccessible to road transport when the rains come in the next few weeks.
Now remember the rules. You take your form and you get 2 days' worth of rations, but you must go to IFO in 3 days.
Overwhelmed by the numbers, United Nations officials who run the camp have been trying to encourage the refugees to move to another site before it's too late. But according to recent reports, the situation at IFO is only marginally better. Hundreds are dying there as well. This is the shopping area at Liboi. There's little fresh food available at the best of times. Soon there may be none. The water crisis is even worse. Lines of jerry cans stretch for 1 kilometre. One pump is not serviceable, and a borehole requested many months ago has not been drilled. There's a shortage of everything, including tents. Even containers are in short supply. These have all been allocated. New arrivals won't be able to draw water. 1,000 people are still arriving every day. The official number now stands at 90,000, and the figure is unlikely to drop before the fighting stops. Years of guerrilla fighting have given way to clan warfare. Rival factions of the ruling United Somali Congress Party are vying for power in the capital Mogadishu. Life has become untenable for civilians. A truce arranged by clan elders only lasted a month. Fighting then resumed and intensified. Many women and children have taken refuge on the outskirts of the city at the mercy of indiscriminate artillery and mortar fire. More than 20,000 people have been killed or wounded. Another 400,000 have fled. Doctors from a handful of international organisations have stayed on to care for the sick in appalling conditions. The United Nations insists on a binding ceasefire before sending in $12 million worth of relief, but there's little sign of an end to the fighting. President Siad Barre, seen here in 1990, was ousted in January last year after a protracted guerrilla war. 4 months later, the North proclaimed itself independent Somaliland. The War of Secession had lasted 4 years, and this was the result. The northern capital, Hargeisa, reduced to rubble. Most of its inhabitants had fled across the border to Ethiopia. On returning, they found a ghost city, booby-trapped by landmines planted by the retreating government forces. They destroyed the city's infrastructure and its culture as well. The National Theatre was one of the last buildings gutted before they left. Recently, people fleeing the fighting in the southern capital Mogadishu have also been heading north. But there's little shelter in Hargeisa. Refugees are even squatting at the airport, beneath the abandoned aircraft that inflicted such terrible damage on the city. Northern Somalia can no longer support its existing population, let alone cope with a steady stream of refugees.
Police, schooling, health facilities, everything has been systematically destroyed or ignored or not maintained.
Along the dried-up riverbed, people have had to go back to their traditional source of water. There's no money to rebuild the pumping station, and the wells are contaminated. Healthcare is virtually non-existent. This is the casualty department that serves the area around Hargeisa. As the partition of Somalia has not been recognized by the international community, there's no official relief program involving the United Nations. This appalling situation is causing further instability. The jails are full. Not everyone in the north backs the new authorities. Even pro-independence guerrillas have been caught looting. Fighting has erupted again in the past few months, adding to the chaos and the carnage. The atrocities which took place in Somalia when Siad Barre was in power went largely unreported. After this massacre, the local population moved out, only to swell the ranks of refugees in neighbouring countries. Some have come back, but peace remains elusive in the north, as in the south. The whole of Somalia is now divided into fiefdoms carved out of ruins. The key to recovery is in the hands of the politicians. Representatives of southern Somalia's warring factions pledged recently to bury their differences at a meeting sponsored by the United Nations. Delegates from the Organization of African Unity, the Islamic Conference and the Arab League also attended as possible contributors to a UN peacekeeping force in the region. Ali Mahdi Mohammed, who became president of Somalia days after Siad Barre's demise, said he would welcome a ceasefire. So did his rival Mohammed Farah Aidid. To no avail. The fighting has intensified since the accord was signed. Conditions in the border camps get worse by the day, and the Kenyan authorities don't want the refugees, who are totally dependent on UN aid. Many of them feel they've been let down by other Muslim states.
We need now coming for helping. What they need? What Saudi Arabia? What happened Saudi Arabia? What happened Abu Dhabi? What happened Iraq? What happened Kuwait? They all have money. We can help doing something. What they doing? We are died. We have died helping me. We are Muslim.
They're now dying at the rate of about 10 a day at this refugee camp. Half of them are children, the first victims of poor sanitation, lack of food and medicines. And according to UN relief workers, most of the deaths are caused by hepatitis, measles and diarrhea, all easily preventable diseases.